Our next presenter is no stranger to this meeting. She gladly does this presentation every year, and we are very lucky to have her to do it. I'd like to introduce trainer extraordinaire Erlene K.P. Dow from the Local Employment Dynamics Program. We have a long history with this program. We've been part of their advisory committee meeting going back to the early 2000s, and they were very supportive of us during the hurricane that we had back in 2012, Hurricane Sandy, in supplying us with a lot of fantastic data that we were able to feed to not only our own internal counties, municipalities, et cetera, but also to the FEMA workers that were on site as well. So we have a terrific partnership with this next group and presenter. Erlene, are you here?
Yeah, Len, we should probably start before this chat gets too out of hand between me and Erlene. So.
Hi, Len. You're on mute. Whatever you said must have been really funny.
Yeah, you missed my fantastic induction for you.
I heard you were talking me up. I appreciate that.
Everybody heard it, so I think we'll just kick things off.
I did not hear it.
You got to be here. I thought I saw you in the chat earlier. That's why I continued on.
I'm here now for sure.
But again, I mentioned how extraordinary a trainer that you are with regards to this session, and that you willingly do this for us every year, and everybody always comes away with something new. So without any further ado, Erlene K.P. Dow.
Thank you, Len. Thank you so much. Still loving that beard on you. Makes you look younger. Mm-hmm. All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. So happy to be here again virtually. Thank you for always welcoming LEHD to your annual meeting. Before I get started, I wanted to give a shout out to our LEHD's fearless leader, Keith Bailey, in case I need to call on him for more information. Here's an outline on how our hour will go. First, we will go over a brief history and description of the Longitudinal Employer Household Dynamics Program and the Local Employment Dynamics Partnership. We will then cover all of LEHD's data products, followed by Q&A. I would also like to draw your attention to the sidebar. I've added a link to our LED webinar series, which occurs every month from February through November. Our next webinar will be on Tuesday, October 15, with Julia Aurelia Glass, who will present new policy benefits communities that lost manufacturing jobs. If you know about our webinar series, you know that it's been going on for decades. Next year will be my 15th year hosting the webinar. We were doing webinars way before it was cool. Fun fact, LED webinars used to be quarterly webinars, but the LED Steering Committee wanted to share presentations from the LED workshop with those who were unable to attend. The webinar series were based on the idea of what you missed at the workshop. I also want to draw attention to the LED in Action link, where you will find articles on how LEHD is being used in real-world examples. One of our examples today comes from the LED in Action. And the number one question you're probably wondering, yes, this PowerPoint will be made available to you. First up, let's talk about the program versus the partnership. Unlike the American Community Survey and the Economic Census, LEHD is not dependent on survey responders. LEHD data is a quarterly database of linking employer and employee data covering over 97% of private employment and most state and local and federal jobs in the United States. It is a voluntary federal-state partnership that was developed in the 1990s with just a few states. New Jersey joined the partnership in 1996. The map to the right shows all of our current partners in blue, including Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. And even though some states are not currently active, we still have previous data from them, or they're working to bring their status to active again. Data availability is from 1990 through 2023. The start year varies by state. I do want to mention that LEHD is now offering a 10-year MOU, and New Jersey was the first LED partner to execute this MOU. Several others have done so since. Under the partnership, states send their administrative records, which are combined with censuses and surveys to create new dynamic information on workers to produce a public use data product, as well as microdata for research. The job data comes from the unemployment insurance wage records. Firm data comes from the quarterly census of employment wage data. Federal data comes from the Office of Personnel Management, and person data comes from censuses and surveys. Now let's talk about LEHD's products, and then we'll go straight into each data tool and its features. Currently, LEHD has 3 main data sets and 2 experimental data sets. Each data set has an application for easy access. You've probably heard me say this, but when I first started, there were only 2 data sets and 3 data tools. Now we have 5 data sets and 7 data tools. Each data set, along with each data tool, is unique in its own way. If you are curious about employment, hires, separations, turnovers, and earnings, you would look at the Quarterly Workforce Indicators, or QWI, utilizing the QWI Explorer, the LED Extraction Tool, or Census API. If you want to look at employment for detailed and customized geography, you would look at the LEHD Origin Destination Employment Statistics, or LOADS data, using the On the Map or On the Map for Emergency Management data tools, and coming later in the LED Extraction tool. If you want to look at statistics on job mobility across the state boundaries or industries, transitions between jobs by timing, and firm or worker characteristics, or earning changes due to job changes, you would use our job-to-job or J2J flows data using the J2J Explorer, and now in our LED Extraction tool. One of our newer data sets is the Post-Secondary Employment Outcomes, or PSEO, which reports earnings by institution, degree field, degree level, and graduation cohort for 1, 5, and 10 years after graduation, and is accessible through the PSEO Explorer and Census API. The current release now includes data on 926 institutions, which covers more than 33% of all college graduates in the U.S. in 2015. PSEO is a data product generated by linking graduate transcript records to LEHD data on graduates of participating post-secondary institutions in the U.S. Finally, we have another experimental data set called the Veteran Employment Outcomes, or VEO. This experimental data set reports earnings and employment outcomes for U.S. Army veterans 1, 5, and 10 years after discharge by military occupation, rank, demographics, industry, and geography of employment. This is accessible through our VEO Explorer. In addition to the data tools, raw data downloads are available along with the LEHD microdata for approved projects through our secure census research data centers. A long time ago in a faraway land, the QWI Online used to have only 8 quarterly workforce indicators. Now it has 32 indicators. It has maps, line charts, and bar charts, and extensive tables, all which are interactive. You can download, export, and upload links to your company's website or LinkedIn handle. We have data all the way down to the 3- and 4-digit NAICS, and the timeliness of the data is like no other at Census. We have data for some states, 2023 Q4. In an article that is featured in our LED in Action from New Jersey Business Magazine source the QWI dataset in addressing New Jersey's aging workforce. According to the article, in New Jersey, the share of workers over 55 is growing. In 2010, these workers accounted for 20% of the workforce and rose nearly 27% in 2020. In this screenshot, we are looking at New Jersey and comparing workers 55 to 64 and 65 to 99 to all ages. In 2010, the number of workers in New Jersey was 3,132,625, while those 55 and older were 481,037. Then in 2020, the total number of all workers was 3,235,369, and the number of those 55 and 64 was 626,680, which is in line with the article of the rise of older workers. You can also see before the pandemic, the numbers were higher, like 400K higher in 2019. Let's go live to look at some other details. All right, so I'm going to start from our website, which is lehd.ces.census.gov. And when you're looking at our website, you can see all of the applications on the left-hand side. You can also click on the tab that says applications. And if you do that, it actually gives you a description of the data tools along with the help and documentation to walk you through each of the different data sets and data tools. Sorry. The other thing is we have our little map here that goes ahead and tells you about the different events that are happening in this month. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on QWI Explorer. So once I do that, of course, I've been looking at New Jersey this whole time, but it comes up New Jersey. We're looking at the age group and we're looking at the quarters. But I'm going to keep it at the indicator as the employment count. And I'm going to change the x-axis to yearly averages. And then once I do that, I'm still going to the screenshot that we saw earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and I clicked on the blue markings underneath the box, the X box, and I'm going to check none. And I'm just going to go down the list and click on 2021, 2020, 2019, 18, 17, 16, 15. And 2010. And then I'll click on OK. And at this time, I don't want to look at everybody. I just want to look at the older workers. So I'll click on the blue text underneath the group and I'll check none again. But I do want to kind of compare it to all ages, and I'll keep the 55 to 64 and 65 to 99, and I'll click on OK. And this automatically duplicates the age group and how we can compare from 2010 to 2020. I also wanted to point out this, which I thought was very interesting. We'll go up to 2023. And you can see that the numbers have changed so much more. So if we scroll down from 2020, it used to be 6,026, but now we're looking at 675,247. So I thought that was very interesting. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to change this to EARN-S. And I'm going to change the yearly averages to the NAICS sector so we can see what industries this age group is in. And I'm going to go ahead and unclick all ages and just click the 55 or older. And then to see the ascending order, I'm going to double click. And now we can see the top industries that this age group is in. So we can see management of companies and enterprises, they're in utilities, they're in professional and scientific and technical services, but this is the earnings. So these are the top earning industries. So we can see that in management of companies and enterprises, they're earning $13,583 a month and so on. So you can do so many different things. It's such a great data tool to kind of explore and then, you know, get your thoughts going and ask why. And then you can even answer some of the questions if you know, your location and so forth. All right, back to the PowerPoint. Now we're going to move on to On the Map. So On the Map is a robust data tool that allows users to connect where the worker works and where the worker lives. It is used to analyze workforce characteristics all the way down to a census block. The tool allows analysts to look at workforce compositions by industry and demographic characteristics, along with worker inflow and outflow and commuting patterns. We have data from 2002 through 2021 for most states, and we hope to release 2022 later this year. In another study, according to NewJersey.com, looked at data from big cities all over the country, which showed that people in New Jersey spent about 30.3 minutes on average going to work each day. I think 30 minutes is a good day since I come from the area of the second worst state, which is DC, and of course, New York is number one. Being close to major cities like New York and Philadelphia make things harder for folks that cross state borders for work. About 10% of New Jersey's workforce commute to New York City, according to this study. In this screenshot representing the destination analysis tool, we can see the top 5 states that those living in New Jersey commute to New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Connecticut, and 12.2 going to New York. Let's go live to play around. So I'll go ahead and go back to the longitudinal employer household tab, and I'm going to click on the map. And then I'm going to click on New Jersey, and you can see previous geographies. I can actually go down there and click on reuse, but I want to show you the full extent of this in case you've never played with this before. I type in New Jersey, I click on search, and all of the different geographies that have New Jersey in it comes up. So you can look at so many different things. You can look at states, counties, places, zip codes, metropolitan areas. So we're going to click on New Jersey under states. And once I do that, another pop-up comes up. So I just want to talk about how intuitive all of the data tools are. You just know what step comes next because it prompts you to these things. So we can see what we're looking at is we can look at the selection area and the square miles. We can see how many census blocks are in this selected area. And then there's this bold blue underline words that say perform analysis on selection area. So I'll click on that. Once I do that, you have an analysis settings box that comes up. We're going to look at where the worker lives instead of where the worker works, because we're looking at those that live in New Jersey that are going to New York and Pennsylvania and so forth. All of these other analyses here is described in this question mark. If you hover over it, you can read what the different analyses are, but we're going to go ahead and click on destination. And at that point, I'm also going to change it to states. So we're going to keep the year to 2021, and I'm going to click on primary jobs because that's the jobs that includes the highest income for people. So this is the income that brings, this is the jobs that bring home the most income. And then I'm going to click this bold go with the exclamation point and lightning bolt. So glad they show these things to me so I know where to go. And once we do that, we can see our map pops up very quickly. This data tool has been updated so much, and it's gotten so much faster. I remember days when it used to be so slow and we'd get the pink screen of death, but that hasn't happened for a long time, and they just keep making so many different better features for it. So when I use this data tool, I like to use the spoke overlay because it kind of gives you a visual of where people are going to work from New Jersey. And I know it looks like we're looking at Philadelphia because we see the red dot and the word Philadelphia. But if I zoom in just a little bit, we can see that we're looking at the state of New Jersey. All right, so once I do that, you can see, just like the article was talking about 10% New York City, but this is looking at 12.2% for New York State. And you can see all of these different spokes going in the direction of the states that people are leaving New Jersey to work in these areas. And one of the newer features that they've updated is if I click on Pennsylvania, it'll tell me the total of all workers going to Pennsylvania. It'll also, if I decide to look at the different segment, we can look at the earnings, and maybe we want to see all of the high earners and the table updates. And if I click on that again, we can see that 97,618 workers in Pennsylvania that are coming from New Jersey are earning more than 3,333. And these are the top states, which, you know, living in New Jersey, you probably knew that it was New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Connecticut. Here we go. The other data tool that we like to play with, and if I click on change settings or the other analysis, we click on inflow, outflow. And oh, let me change that to work instead, and we'll click on go. And again, this gives you a really great visual. And we can see here those people that are going into New Jersey to work, those people that live and work in New Jersey, and those that live in New Jersey and go out of the state to work. And I also wanted to just say, you can print a detailed report. We can do it in PDF or Excel or HTML. You can export the geography. You can print the chart map. You can import shape files of your own. So it can do so many different things. Right, well, you can't talk about On the Map without talking about On the Map for Emergency Management, which is a public data tool that provides an intuitive web-based interface for accessing U.S. population and workforce statistics in real time for areas being affected by natural disasters. The tool allows users to retrieve reports containing detailed workforce, population, housing characteristics for hurricanes, floods, wildfires, winter storms from the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, and Federal Disaster Declaration Areas, or FEMA. And our wildfires come from the Department of Interior and Department of Agriculture. And our demographic and economic data comes from the Census Bureau's 2020 decennial, the 2017 to 2021 American Community Survey, and the 2021 loads data. Here's a screenshot of last year's disaster declaration in July of severe storm and flooding in the county of Warren. In this screenshot, we can see using ACS that there were a total of 17,360 households impacted by the storm. So let's go live to look at this. Going back to the top. clicking on the map for emergency management. And I wanted to come straight to the page because I wanted you to see all of the activity that is going on currently. So this is updated every 6 hours by the Weather Service Center. And we can see on the left side, we have hurricanes, Hurricane Milton with the population of 5,794,774 that is being affected. We can see the red flames, which are wildfires throughout the West Coast and the Midwest. And then you can see the life preservers, the orange life preservers, which are FEMA disaster declaration areas. We have yellow houses, which are flooding. And then the green wind swath is the hurricane or tropical storms. We can just automatically click on Hurricane Milton to see what the impacted results are. We can look at the different vulnerabilities, such as disability status by poverty. We can look at disability status by age, 65 and over. And then we can look at some of the vulnerabilities, such as structure built. So there were 62,000 plus built in 1939 or earlier that are being impacted. But let's go back to the example for New Jersey. And I'm just going to type in the DR code. So I'm going to type in DR 4725, and it automatically pops up, gives us the population. And then it zooms in into Warren County, and we can see again all of the different vulnerabilities, but we can also look at the workforce population employed in the area. So here we can see this happening. We can see that there's about 25,969 workers in this county. We can look at the NAICS industry that was probably most affected, which is retail trade, followed by healthcare, and then retail followed by healthcare, and then manufacturing. So knowing that area, that would make sense to people. You can also zoom into different event areas if you wanted to. We can look at it by counties, by places, and then we can just look at that instead. But I'm just going to keep going. All right, so now we're moving on to J2J, and J2J has 60 measures of reallocation. Like all of our data tools, we have a flexible dashboard with maps, tables, and charts. And of course, everything is interactive and easy to use with help documentations. From another study, found that 64.9% of New Jersey migration last year was outbound compared to 35% coming into the state. The top reason for leaving was retirement, comprising about 27% of outbound residents, followed by family and job reasons. Only 4.5% said they were leaving because of the cost of living. In this screenshot, we can see the flow from New Jersey into New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Florida, Texas, and California. And again, these are jobs. These are not actual population moving into them. It's the jobs. So if I hover over the state, we can see how many workers went to other states. So I'm going to go ahead and go live with that. So I'll come to J2J, and here is a guided entry. So under number 1, we're going to look at separations from. We're going to look at New Jersey, and here we have national data. We also have metropolitan data if you'd like. So I'm going to click on New Jersey. Also, we just added the 3-digit NAICS code in the raw data. So just throw that at you. So here, once I do that, anything that's optional for me to click on is blue. So I'm going to go ahead and click on which states. And once I do that, we can see the same duplicate of the PowerPoint. So again, I'm going to hover over the state, and you can see New York has about 13,197 jobs going from New Jersey to New York. Same thing, jobs from New Jersey to Pennsylvania, about 9,299. Then comes Connecticut. And then we can look at Florida. I guess it wasn't then comes Connecticut, Texas, and then California. So I'm going to show you some tricks that I like to use with this data tool. I'm going to click on table. I'm going to do that whole ascending thing. And then it shows us the top list of states. So under rows, I'm going to click on the underlined area. I'm going to click on select none, and then I'm just going to go down the list and click on a few of these. So New York, Pennsylvania, Florida, and Texas. And then I'll click on Save Changes. And once I do that, I want to look at the NAICS industry. So we're looking at destination NAICS sectors that these states are working in. And then we're going to click on the bipartite chart. And if you've listened to me throughout this whole thing, numbers are so much. So I'm just going to click on percentage because it's much easier. And once I do that, we can hover over the area. So if we look at Florida, we can see that the top industry that people that are leaving New Jersey and going to Florida are now working in healthcare, or those in New York. Those leaving New Jersey, going into New York, the top industry looks like it is professional and scientific and technical services. For Pennsylvania, we have healthcare. And then for Texas, we have the same professional and scientific and technical services. So really interesting stuff when you look at stuff like that, right? So now we're moving on to our post-secondary employment outcomes, or PSEO Explorer. And we have another, or at least another article, more than 50% of New Jersey's college-bound students exit the state for their higher education, according to statsamerica.org. So as we go through this, you will notice that we don't have New Jersey's data yet. I'm just going to say yet, because everything's falling into place. I mean, we started with just Texas, and now we have about 30 different states that are part of the PSEO. So according to this article, New Jersey is ranked 6th in the country as a leading exporter of students pursuing a college degree. And where are they going? So typically not far. New Jersey is the top feeder to many colleges in nearby states, comprising a sizable portion of their student body, such as, now let me make sure, am I saying this correctly? Is it Lehigh or Lee? Is it Lehigh? Is that how you say it?
Yes, Lehigh.
Thank you. Okay, so Lehigh University, 26%, Villanova University, 25%, University of Delaware, 23%, and Loyola University of Maryland is 26%, to name a few. In this screenshot, we are looking at Lehigh University. So again, let's go live. And I will click on PSEO Explorer. And then so automatically, we're looking at Colorado, we're looking at business management, marketing, and retail related support services. We can see the 1-year earnings, the 5-year earnings, and the 10-year earnings compared to social services, which is 1, 5, and 10 also. And this is the students' earning percentile of 50%. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Colorado, and you can actually type in Penn. And then here, I'm going to just type in Lee. And then it automatically comes up. So we see business management, those 1 year, 5 year, and 10 year. And I want to show you a couple features that it has. So if you come down to the bottom, you click on detailed, it actually gives you details of other degree programs in this degree program. So we can see business corporate communications, business administration, management, and operations, and then business commerce. So these are the different earnings for all of these programs within this degree. I'll click on general, go back to that, and then we'll click on computer information, and you can see again 1, 5, and 10. We can also click on 75% to see the earnings go up. So if you're in the 75 percentile, you're earning $62,000 one year, 82 5 years, and 132 in 10 years. So we can keep it at 75 if we want, and then we'll click on flows. Well, I guess it just doesn't matter anyway. So instead of looking at the numbers, I'm going to look at the shares. So we're looking at 85% of the business management marketing, and many of those go into the manufacturing industry, followed by professional and scientific and technical. And then you can kind of figure out same for computer and information, which follows the same trait for business management marketing. The other thing is we can see how many of those that are going to Lehigh, how many of them actually stay in Pennsylvania. So about 70% of them stay in Pennsylvania, and then some, about 12%, go out to South Atlantic, while 9% go to the Middle Atlantic. We can also look and see if, 10 years matters. Well, it looks like 74% now are going back or staying in Pennsylvania, and about 11% go to South Atlantic. All right. And finally, we're going to look at the VEO Explorer and how much does a veteran make in New Jersey. So VEO, like PSEO, is an experimental statistics on labor market outcomes for recently discharged enlisted Army veterans. Even though we do not have work data on the military, we have date after they leave the military. These statistics are tabulated by military specialization, service characteristics, employer industry, and veteran demographics. They are generated by matching service member information with a national database of jobs using state-of-the-art confidentiality protection mechanisms to protect the underlying data. The VEO are made possible through data sharing partnerships between the U.S. Army, state labor market information offices, and the U.S. Census Bureau. VEO data are currently available at the state and national level. In this screenshot, we are looking at the number of former Army soldiers 1 year post-discharge of the 25, 50, and 75 percentile that are employed in New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. Okay, so let's go one more time. And automatically it pulls up all occupations, looking at the 25, 50, and 75 percentile, 1 year post-discharge, and then we can see those in the infantry 1 year post-discharge. So I'm going to go up to the top where it says state. I'm going to click on state with the bar chart. And now we see high earners if you are military and you live in the DC area. So we can see Virginia is like one of the higher ones for those in the 75 percentile, 1 year post discharge. But we're going to go ahead and change it, and we're going to clear it, and we're just going to look at New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. And then duplicating again the PowerPoint, we can see the same numbers, and New Jersey is the one that stands out the most because the veterans that have been discharged that were in the 75 percentile are earning more than those in New York and Pennsylvania. We can also look at 10 years. So let's see what happens 10 years after. And you see that it goes up. Let's look at all years post-discharge. So we can compare, and this again is the 50 percentile. So in New Jersey, it's 58,000 for those in the 50 percentile. But if we change it to the 75 percentile, they're earning just a little more. But still really great that veterans are earning more in New Jersey than New York and Pennsylvania. The other thing I want to show you is one of my favorite things. So if I click on military specialization and I go to detailed military occupation, so this automatically comes up again. It's kind of like the default, but I'm also going to look here under military occupation and look at my favorite interesting occupation, which is unmanned vehicle systems, which is drone operators. And now, drone operators, they're not just they're doing so many other things like filming and weather, so many things. Anyway, I regress. So those after 1 year post-discharge in the 25, 50, and 75 percentile, you can see 75 percentile after 1 year are earning 102,300. We can, again, change it to 10 years after discharge, and we can see those in the 75 percentile at 121 versus all occupations, which are like 75,000 in the percentile, or 25% are in the 36,000, and then for infantry as well. But the thing is, like, why do they earn so? So if we click on earnings and we look at count of veterans, we can see that there is demand for these operators, because after the first year, there's 715. But then we look at 5 years and 487, and then 10 years, it's 129. So you have to kind of think, 10 years ago, it wasn't that popular, or it wasn't that obvious. We didn't have that many drones back then. It was kind of special. But, it's just very interesting stuff, right? I mean, I think it's interesting. Anyway, moving on. So with that, I have come to the end because that's all I have time for. I have maybe 3 minutes extra to be 45 minutes. But in summary, these web-based analysis and visualization tools provide accessibility to the data for a wide variety of user needs and levels of statistical expertise. Many of our stakeholders are more likely to use web-based tools than download and manipulate raw data files. Here are links to all of our data tools that we covered. And everybody read the chat to see what Keith said. All right, so finally, here is my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. I always respond. I'm not going to say I usually respond. I respond. And if you need anything, if you'd like a one-on-one, if you'd like a group demo, or if you want some training, I am here to serve you. So with that, any questions? Thank you,
If you have a
Karen.
question for Arlene, feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Six-digit NAICS data is always appreciated with anything related to workforce data. Agreed. But that's a lot.
I'll just step in here if I may.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, the 6-digit NAICS, more detail, more detail, more detail, more detail. But I also want to caution you, we are always challenged with level of detail and also have to maintain confidentiality of information. So essentially, if you look at it from the perspective of there's always a trade-off in the level of detail and what we can provide. We would prefer not to publish data with extensive suppressions. So what we do is we find a place where we are able to provide the greatest amount of detail and minimize our suppressions. But I appreciate the comment. It's something we've heard many times, and we always seek to do it. In PSEO, I know it's a lot to take into one session. You can drill down to the 4-digit zip code in PSEO, which is pretty detailed when you consider a lot of those programs and graduates are very small numbers programs. So thank you very much for the comment. We take all comments seriously. I just wanted to address that specifically. Thank you.
Okay, we have a comment. Just to thank you. This was a great resource presentation. We'll be using some of the direct tools available.
Super, thank you.
Any other questions? Going once, going twice. Also, remember that we are recording these, and these will be up on a website that you can refer back to if you got lost in any of the tools that were being presented here today. You can always go back and take it at your own pace to follow up with the tools. So just keep that in mind.
Len, if I may,
yes.
One last plug. On
Sure.
the LEHD website, there are recordings of past training sessions where we go into more detail for each of these products. I'll put a link in the chat to the training resources that are both run by Arlene and also the LEHD team. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Keith. That's a great point.
Thank you, Keith.
Yep. Thank you very much. Okay, if there's no more questions, we're coming up against a hard break at 2:30. We'll reconvene at 2:45. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arlene. Another great presentation.